Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. Okay, so today will be somewhat of a double feature as we showcase two different action figures of the same character. Today is May 18th, 2025, and I got this recently through Amazon in the United States. We have the Super7 Thundercats Lino action figure. I want to say I think this came out maybe late last year. But for me, I had to get it. I'm a big fan of the Thundercats, and I especially love the 5.5-inch scale form factor. It's very reminiscent of my youth, especially with the old Mattel Masters of the Universe line of action figures from the early 80s, and also the old Remco AWA wrestling action figures. For me, this is it's a little bit of home, and it's just very, very cool. So I had to get it. And then after I purchased this, I kind of remembered that Funko produced their line of 5.5-inch Thundercats figures, I think back in maybe 2017 or 2018. And these figures, I just fell in love with them. There were some quality control issues with the Savage World line, and I was heartbroken when Funko discontinued the line. But, man, these figures were awesome. I think they predated the Masters of the Universe Origins figures by maybe a year and a half, if I remember that correctly. But these were awesome, awesome figures. And like I said, I was just sad to see this line die because they took on so many different properties from like horror films to video games. So it's cool. You have Lino going up against Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. And it was just the funnest thing. They even had like DC superheroes in a very kind of like fantasy theme. You had Batman and Superman kind of almost looking like barbarians and gladiators. It was awesome. So yeah, today we're going to focus more so on this, the Super7 Thundercats Lino. The card art, it's good, for what it is. It's very basic. I don't think it's trying to be any more or less than what it is. It's a very throwback in its design, to accompany the figure. Even on the back, when you look on the back, the graphic design work, composition, and layout is very similar to something you might have seen, way back when. But it's cool. It says here, Lino leads the band of Thundercats against Mumra and his evil army of mutants. The battle for the Sword of Omens is on. So we have Jackalman, Mumra, the Ever-Living, and Lino. Collect them all. So this, I'm hoping they at least give us the core cast of characters. But we'll see, But yeah, I'm stoked on this. So we're going to open this guy up right now. So you have Lino's glove right here. Nicely detailed. It would have been nice if they had more paint application, especially at the knuckles, but it is what it is. The Sword of Omens is really nice. Very, very well sculpted. The detailing it's awesome. The logo is cleanly printed, but the sculpting, it's so sharp, it's so clean. And I kind of attribute that to the fact that this is kind of made of a much more rigid plastic, meaning you have to be a little bit more careful in handling this because this is the kind of plastic that cracks, not bends, if that makes any sense. Like with some toy companies, the accessories, the swords, for example, like with the Mattel line of figures, they're kind of almost like that stiffer rubbery plastic, so you can kind of bend and flex without worrying about snapping it. This, on the other hand, feels like the rigid plastic where if you try bending it, it's going to crack and snap. So just exercise some caution when you handle this, especially like when you insert the hilt into Lino's hand. But again, very impressed. The detailing, very, very sharp and clean. Awesome, awesome piece. Lino himself, let's try to balance out the colors correctly. Let's move you aside for now. And let's pull out this white sheet of paper to get the balance, color balance just right. It's a lighter flesh tone, so he's looking a little bit overexposed on my camera, so I apologize for that. So he's a little bit more on the paler end of the spectrum. Thundercats fans will remember that a lot of the toys, they're based off of like different. The reason why Lino's color scheme always kind of varies is because it's either going to be based off of like the animation models or the classic toys. This one's a little bit more pale. Height-wise, he stands in at about, roughly 5.5 inches. This one's a little bit closer to 5 3/4. So it kind of fits within that classic range of the old Motu figures from the 80s. Again, I apologize. It's very difficult to film him because his color it's very pale. So the light coming off my camera is just kind of blowing out the details. But it's a great figure. In terms of his articulation, his head looks left and right. And you'll also notice the very cleanly printed detailing on the eyes. And we do have the colors in better focus now. So this gives you a better idea of the actual flesh tone. Brilliant shade of red. The arms are articulated. There's movement at the waist. The legs kick up and they go outward. And that gives you an idea of the articulation. It's not a ball joint. It looks like it's on a, I think like a ratcheted joint, because I kind of feel the ratchets when I move the legs out. And overall, great figure. Let's get his glove in hand. You just snap it over the forearm and hand like that. Nice, snug, tight fit. And then you have the sword here, which I am not going to put into the hand, just because the hand is very stiff. I might have to heat this up in a mug of hot water just to soften up the fingers, because I don't want to pry them apart and stress them, and I definitely don't want to crack the hilt, because like I said, this feels like the much more fragile kind of plastic. It's not that rubbery kind, so just exercise some care with this. What else? Oh yeah, I do have the larger Super7 Lino figure. This was... Alright, so originally this was an Ultimate Super7 figure, but then they kind of streamlined the figure with less accessories so they can put it out at mass retail. So this belongs to the Deluxe DX line, which I found this at my local Target some months back. So you can see, very similar, but yet also very different. And then let's circle back around, because I do have a loose copy of the Funko Savage World Thundercats figure, which I showed earlier. Like I said, I think this figure came out maybe back in 2017 or 2018. It's kind of this similar form factor. This one is, I think, more realistically proportioned, even though it's not very realistic. This one, the proportions are a little bit more exaggerated, especially with the larger head. You can see the difference in size also. This one feels a little bit more at home with the Masters of the Universe Origins line, the modern toy line, which pays homage to the 80s one. We have the Origins He-Man right here. Slightly smaller in scale. It might just be the proportions, But overall, it'll go well. If you want to migrate this into your Origins line or the original 80s line, go for it. He-Man and Lino could, tag team and go on some adventures together. So yeah, it's nice looking action figure overall. I'm very stoked on this. If I had to choose between the older Savage World Funko figure or the Super7, I think I might I love this figure a lot. The color scheme is nice, it's vibrant. The sculpting the hair a lot more dynamic, and this feels more like a toy to me, whereas this one feels it's a bit too streamlined. It feels more like an adult collectible, if that makes any sense. But don't get me wrong, excellent figure. If you're a fan of Thundercats, this is definitely worth the purchase. For me, I think I'm just getting this one I think more so just out of nostalgia, just because it feels more like a toy I would have handled when I was younger. But yeah, great figure overall. Definitely worth the purchase. Again, I really hope that Super 7 dips deeper into the catalog of characters and just gives us more and more figures. Alright, so with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.